Hello there, and welcome. I'm so glad you found your way here, to this quiet space. Perhaps you've had a long day, filled with thoughts and tasks, a mind buzzing with the leftover energy of the world outside. Or maybe you're someone who finds comfort not in silence, but in the gentle unfolding of a deep and wondrous story. Either way, this journey is for you. There is nothing left for you to do now but to rest. Let your mind begin to soften, your breathing to find its own slow, easy rhythm. Feel your body grow heavy and light at the same time, as if the pull of the world is gently letting you go. Because tonight, we are not traveling outward to the distant stars, but inward to a universe just as vast and mysterious, the one nestled right behind your eyes. We are journeying into the quiet, intricate landscape of the human brain, specifically to the two great continents of thought that live within us all, the left and right hemispheres. It's a story you may have heard before, a tale of two halves, one logical and one creative, one of reason and one of dreams. And while that story is a beautifully simple map, the territory itself is far more wild, more interconnected, and more wondrous than we can imagine. So, let your attention drift. Allow my voice to be a gentle guide as we explore the silent, electrical world within. We'll wander through the corridors of language, the galleries of memory, and the vast, open fields of emotion, all shaped by the ceaseless, silent conversation between these two halves of your mind. You don't need to hold on to any of this information. Just let the words wash over you, like a gentle tide. Some of what you hear may spark a flicker of curiosity, a moment of wonder, before you drift even deeper into rest. Let us begin with the Great Divide itself. Imagine for a moment the brain as a perfect sphere, a whole and unified world of thought. Then, a gentle line appears, drawing itself down the very center, creating two distinct yet perfectly mirrored halves. This is the longitudinal fissure, a deep valley that separates the left hemisphere from the right. They are separate territories, two distinct landmasses of neural tissue, each responsible for processing one half of your world. The left hemisphere, as you may know, controls the right side of your body. The right hemisphere, in turn, governs the left. A simple, elegant crossover. When you wave with your right hand, it is a thought that begins in the left half of your brain. When you take a step with your left foot, it is an impulse from the right. This division seems so absolute, so clear. It is what gave rise to the popular idea of being left-brained or right-brained. The left, we were told, is the kingdom of logic, of numbers, of language and linear thinking. It is the architect, the accountant, the grammarian of the mind, meticulously placing one thought after another in a neat and orderly row. The right hemisphere, the story goes, is the realm of the artist, the poet, the musician. It is a world of intuition, of spatial awareness, of recognizing faces in a crowd, and feeling the swell of emotion in a piece of music. It doesn't think in straight lines, but in webs and connections, in feelings and colors. This simple duality is a comforting one. It gives us neat boxes to place our complex selves into. But the truth, as we will find as we drift deeper, is that this great divide is not a wall, but a valley with a bridge. An incredible, bustling bridge made of hundreds of millions of nerve fibers. A superhighway of information called the corpus callosum. This is the great communicator, the tireless messenger that ensures the two hemispheres are never truly alone. They are in constant dialogue, a quiet, humming conversation that happens below the level of our awareness, faster than a blink, more constant than our own breath. And it is in this conversation, this dance of cooperation, that the true magic of our minds unfolds. The architect consults the artist. The poet asks the grammarian for a word. And so, we begin our descent into the quiet, electric dark, starting with the hemisphere that gives order to our world, the land of language and logic. Let us drift now into the territory of the left hemisphere. Allow your mind to settle here, in this intricate landscape often called the dominant hemisphere. Not because it is stronger, but because, for most of us, it holds the keys to the kingdom of language. Imagine this place as a vast ancient library, filled not with books, but with the very architecture of communication. The shelves are lined with grammar, the corridors echo with syntax, and in its quietest corners, words themselves are born. This is the part of you that knows how to string sounds together, to form a sentence, to tell a story, to name the world around you. Within this realm, there are two famous regions, two bustling cities of thought. The first is Broca's area, located towards the front. Think of this as the workshop, the forge. It is here that the physical act of speaking is meticulously crafted. The muscles of your tongue, your lips, your jaw, they all receive their instructions from this small patch of neural tissue. It is the master craftsman, taking the abstract idea of a word and translating it into the complex, coordinated movements required to give it voice. It doesn't just produce sounds. It organizes them into fluent, grammatical sentences. It understands the rhythm and flow of speech, the pauses and intonations that make language more than just a series of noises. It is the reason you can speak your thoughts, rather than just feel them. Further back in this hemisphere lies another city, Wernicke's area. If Broca's area is the workshop, then Wernicke's is the great hall of understanding. This is where meaning is deciphered. When you hear someone speak, the sound waves travel into your ear, are converted into electrical signals, and are sent here, to this place, to be understood. It is Wernicke's area that connects a word, like river, to the vast network of concepts associated with it: water, flowing, currents, banks, life. It is the interpreter, the wise sage of the mind, that allows you to comprehend not just the words someone is saying, but the meaning behind them. Without it, language would be nothing but a foreign tongue, a stream of sounds without significance. But the left hemisphere is more than just a linguist. It is also the great organizer, the timekeeper of the mind. It processes information in a sequential, linear fashion. It understands the concept of before and after. It is the part of you that can follow a recipe, step by step. It is the part of you that can create a plan for the day, arranging tasks in a logical order. It sees the world not as a whole picture, but as a collection of details that it can name, categorize, and analyze one at a time. It breaks down complex problems into smaller, manageable parts. It looks for cause and effect, for patterns and rules. Think of it as the storyteller of your life. Every day, your senses are flooded with an overwhelming torrent of information: sights, sounds, feelings, sensations. It is the left hemisphere that takes this chaotic stream of experience and weaves it into a coherent narrative. It creates the story of you. It says, "First, I woke up. Then, I had breakfast. Later, I went to work." It creates a timeline, a personal history that makes sense of the past and allows you to project into the future. This internal narrator is constantly working, even now, as you lie here, listening. It is trying to make sense of my words, placing them in order, finding the logic within them. But you can let that storyteller rest now. You can thank it for its hard work and allow it to grow quiet. Let the details fade, let the sequence dissolve, and just float on the sound of my voice as we prepare to cross the great bridge into another world entirely. A world not of lines and letters, but of spaces and feelings. Now, let us leave the structured cities and libraries of the left hemisphere behind. Let your awareness drift across that great neural bridge, the corpus callosum, and arrive in a different land entirely. Welcome to the right hemisphere. If the left was a world of sharp lines and clear definitions, this is a world of soft edges, of vast open landscapes, and of deep unspoken feelings. This is the realm often associated with creativity, intuition, and art, but its true nature is something even more fundamental. The right hemisphere is the master of the whole, the great synthesizer. It does not see the trees, it sees the entire forest at once. One of its most profound gifts is its understanding of space. Imagine yourself walking into a familiar room, even in the dark. You know, without thinking, where the furniture is. You have a mental map of the space. That map lives here, in the right hemisphere. It is the silent navigator within you, responsible for your sense of direction, your ability to understand maps, and your awareness of where your body is in relation to the world around you. It allows a painter to understand perspective, a sculptor to see a form in a block of stone, and a dancer to move gracefully through space. It thinks in shapes, in relationships, in the distances and connections between things. It is the part of you that can look up at the clouds and see a face, or gaze at the stars and feel the immense, silent space between them. And speaking of faces, this is where the right hemisphere truly shines. It houses a specialized region, often called the fusiform face area, that is exquisitely tuned to recognize human faces. The left hemisphere might see the details: 2 eyes, a nose, a mouth. But it is the right hemisphere that puts them all together in an instant and recognizes a friend. It doesn't just see a face, it reads it. It is the expert in non-verbal cues, the silent language of the body. It understands the meaning of a furrowed brow, a subtle smile, the sadness in someone's eyes. It hears not just the words you say, but the tone of your voice, the joy, the sarcasm, the hesitation, the warmth. It is the seat of empathy, the part of you that can feel what another person is feeling, that connects you to the emotional world of others. This emotional intelligence runs deep. While the left hemisphere can name an emotion, I feel sad, it is the right hemisphere that experiences the full, immersive quality of that sadness. It processes the raw, unfiltered flow of feeling. When you are swept away by a piece of music, when a painting moves you to tears, when you feel a profound sense of awe looking at a sunset, you are living deeply in the world of your right hemisphere. It connects you to the present moment, to the sensory experience of being alive, unfiltered by language or analysis. It is the dreamer, the mystic, the part of you that understands metaphor and appreciates humor. It gets the punchline of a joke not by analyzing its structure, but by making an intuitive leap, a sudden connection between 2 unrelated ideas. Think of it as the poet of the mind. While the left hemisphere tells the literal story, the right hemisphere provides the context, the feeling, the atmosphere. It gives the story its color, its depth, its soul. It is the silent partner in every conversation, every interaction, every moment of quiet reflection. It is humming along right now, not just processing the meaning of my words, but feeling the calm rhythm of my voice, sensing the peaceful intention behind them. It is the part of you that allows you to relax, to let go, to drift without a map. And as you sink deeper into that feeling of calm, know that you are resting in its gentle, spacious embrace. Let the world of details fall away, and just be here, in this moment, whole and complete. We have journeyed through the 2 great lands of the mind, the structured, orderly world of the left hemisphere, and the spacious, intuitive world of the right. We have seen them as separate continents, each with its own unique culture, its own language, its own way of seeing the world. But they are not isolated islands. They are in constant, vibrant communication. And the marvel that makes this possible, the very heart of their unity, is the structure we will explore now as you continue to relax, to drift, to let go. Let us turn our gentle attention to the corpus callosum. Imagine a bridge. Not a simple wooden bridge over a quiet stream, but a colossal, shimmering structure, a superhighway woven from light itself. This bridge is made of more than 200 million individual nerve fibers, each one a tiny messenger carrying a spark of information from one hemisphere to the other. It is the largest white matter structure in your brain, a dense, bustling thoroughfare of communication that sits deep in the valley between the 2 halves. The sheer volume of traffic across this bridge is almost unimaginable. Billions of electrical pulses cross it every single second. A silent, ceaseless conversation that integrates your entire experience of reality. This is not a simple exchange of data, like 2 computers sharing files. It is a rich, nuanced, and collaborative dialogue. The right hemisphere, seeing the whole forest, might send a feeling, a sense of danger, an intuition. The left hemisphere receives this feeling and begins to search for the details. It asks, what is it? Is it the sound of a twig snapping? The shadow that just moved? The left hemisphere, reading a sentence in a book, processes the grammar and the literal meaning of the words. It then sends this information across the corpus callosum to the right hemisphere, which adds the emotional color, the subtext, the deeper, metaphorical meaning. Your seamless, unified consciousness is a testament to the flawless performance of this incredible structure. You don't feel like two separate people living in one head because the corpus callosum works so perfectly, so quietly, in the background. To truly understand its importance, we can gently consider what happens when this bridge is severed. In rare medical cases, to treat severe epilepsy, surgeons have had to cut the corpus callosum, a procedure known as a corpus callosotomy. The patients who underwent this procedure, known as split brain patients, provided a profound window into the separate worlds of the hemispheres. After the surgery, these patients seemed perfectly normal in their everyday lives. Their personalities were unchanged. They could walk and talk and live as they did before. But in clever laboratory experiments, their hidden division was revealed. In one famous experiment, a patient would be shown a word flashed to their left field of vision, which is processed by the right hemisphere. The word might be key. When asked what they saw, the patient would say, "I saw nothing." This is because the right hemisphere, which saw the word, has no language center. It cannot speak. The left hemisphere, which controls speech, was completely blind to what the right hemisphere had seen. The message was stuck on one side of the valley. But here is the wondrous part. If the patient was then asked to reach for the object with their left hand, the hand controlled by the right hemisphere, they would unhesitatingly pick up a key from a group of objects. The right hemisphere knew, it just couldn't say it. It had to communicate through action. This revealed that there were, in a sense, two separate streams of consciousness within one person, unable to communicate with each other. The bridge was out. Thinking about this does not need to be startling. Instead, let it fill you with a quiet sense of awe for the unity you experience every moment of every day. Feel the wholeness of your own mind, the seamless flow of thought and feeling. This unity is a gift, a constant, beautiful symphony of collaboration, conducted silently by this magnificent bridge. And now, as you rest, you can imagine this bridge growing quiet, the traffic slowing down, the messengers taking a well-deserved rest, the two great hemispheres settling into a peaceful, synchronized rhythm, preparing for the deep, restorative quiet of sleep. There is no need for frantic communication now. There is only the need for stillness, for unity, for peace. As we continue to float on this calm current of thought, let us return to that simple story we started with. The logical left brain and the creative right brain. It's a beautiful story, a tidy map. But as you know from your own experience, life is not so tidy. You are not just a creature of logic or just a creature of art. You are both. And the deeper truth that neuroscience has revealed is that this strict division is a myth, a charming oversimplification of a much more elegant and dynamic reality. The true story is not one of division, but of partnership. It is a story of a symphony, not a solo. The concept that replaces the old myth is called lateralization. It's a gentler idea. It doesn't say that a function lives only in one hemisphere. It simply says that one hemisphere might be more involved, more dominant, for a particular task. Think of it like having two talented chefs in a kitchen. One might be a specialist in baking, the other an expert in sauces. But when they cook a meal together, they are both involved in the entire process. They communicate, they taste, they adjust. The baker might take the lead on the dessert, but the sauce chef is still there, perhaps suggesting a hint of spice or helping to plate the final creation. This is how your hemispheres work. They are both always on, always active, always contributing to the whole. Let's take something that seems purely logical, like mathematics. We might assume this is the exclusive domain of the left hemisphere, with its love for numbers and sequential steps. And it's true. The left hemisphere is crucial for the precise calculations, for following the rules of algebra, for the symbolic manipulation of numbers. It is the part of you that can solve for x. But the right hemisphere is also in the kitchen. It is responsible for spatial reasoning, for understanding quantity in a more intuitive way. It helps you visualize the problem, to see the geometry of a shape, to estimate a quantity without counting. The greatest mathematicians in history have often described their breakthroughs not as a step-by-step logical process, but as a sudden flash of insight, a beautiful pattern revealing itself. A very right hemisphere experience. The calculation and the insight are partners. Now let's think about something we consider creative, like playing a musical instrument. This must be the right hemisphere's show, right? With its connection to emotion and pattern recognition. And indeed, the right hemisphere is vital for appreciating the melody, the harmony, the emotional feel of the music. It processes the holistic sound. But to play an instrument, you need the left hemisphere just as much. You need the fine motor control to place your fingers on the keys or the strings, a task of incredible precision. You need to understand rhythm and timing, which are fundamentally about sequence and order. And if you're reading sheet music, you are using the symbolic language centers of the left hemisphere. The passion and the practice, the feeling and the form, they are woven together. This constant collaboration is happening right now, even in the simple act of listening to my voice. Your left hemisphere is processing the words, the grammar, the literal meaning. It's following the thread of the narrative. At the exact same time, your right hemisphere is interpreting the calm, soothing tone of my voice. It is sensing the rhythm, the cadence. It is creating the overall feeling of relaxation that is allowing you to unwind. You are not listening with one half of your brain. You are listening with your whole mind, beautifully and seamlessly integrated. So, let go of the need to label yourself as left-brained or right-brained. It's like trying to say a river is only its left bank or its right bank. The river is the water that flows between them, shaped by both. You are the river. You are the symphony. And as you drift deeper into sleep, you can feel this symphony quiet down. The musicians are putting down their instruments. The chefs are cleaning the kitchen. The two halves of your mind are beginning to breathe in unison, finding a deep, slow, synchronous rhythm, preparing to enter the unified world of dreams. Let us drift back, just for a moment, to the world of words. We've spoken of the left hemisphere as the great linguist, the home of Broca's area for speech production and Wernicke's area for comprehension. This is the solid, well-mapped territory of language. It is the foundation. But language is so much more than just grammar and definition. It is a living, breathing thing, filled with color, emotion, and hidden meanings. And to experience its full richness, the left hemisphere must be in constant conversation with its partner across the river, the right hemisphere. Language is truly a tale of two hemispheres. Imagine someone says to you, "Well, that was a brilliant idea." The words themselves are simple. Your left hemisphere deciphers them instantly. Brilliant, meaning very good. Idea, a thought or suggestion. The literal meaning is clear. But how do you know if the person is being sincere or deeply sarcastic? The clue is not in the words, but in the music behind them. The tone of voice, the slight curl of the lip, the roll of the eyes. This is the language of the right hemisphere. It is the master of prosody, the rhythm, the stress, the intonation of speech. It hears the sarcasm, the warmth, the sadness, or the joy that colors the literal words. Without the right hemisphere's input, we would be like robots, understanding only the dictionary definition of what is said, completely missing the vast, rich world of human subtext. The right hemisphere is also the poet, the one who understands that words can mean more than what they say. It is the home of metaphor. If someone says, "He has a heart of stone," your left hemisphere might be momentarily confused. It knows what a heart is and what a stone is, but it can't literally reconcile the two. It is the right hemisphere that makes the intuitive leap. It understands that stone is not meant literally, but as a symbol for coldness, for a lack of feeling. It grasps the abstract connection, the emotional truth of the phrase. It is the part of you that can read a poem and feel its power, not just analyze its rhyme scheme. It is what allows language to transcend information and become art. Humor, too, finds its home in this beautiful partnership. Most jokes rely on a setup that leads your mind in one direction, creating a certain expectation. Then, the punchline delivers a sudden, unexpected twist. It's the left hemisphere that follows the logical setup of the story. It is processing the information, trying to make sense of it. But it is the right hemisphere that gets the punchline. It makes the surprising connection, the cognitive shift that resolves the incongruity in a delightful way, leading to the feeling of amusement and the physical response of laughter. People with damage to their right hemisphere often don't find jokes funny. They can explain the literal meaning of all the words, but they don't experience that flash of insight, that spark of playful connection. Think about the simple act of telling a story to a friend. Your left hemisphere is working hard to organize the events in chronological order, choosing the right words, forming grammatically correct sentences. But your right hemisphere is equally engaged. It is guiding your hand gestures, shaping your facial expressions, modulating the tone of your voice to convey excitement or suspense. It is also reading your friend's face, sensing if they are engaged, bored, or confused, allowing you to adjust your story on the fly. A good story is not just a sequence of events. It is a shared emotional experience, a dance between two minds, orchestrated by all four hemispheres working in concert. And so, as you lie here listening, know that this process is happening effortlessly within you. Your whole brain is engaged in this quiet act of communication. But there is no need to analyze it any further. Let the words become pure sound. Let their meanings dissolve. Let the storyteller of the left and the poet of the right both grow quiet, their work for the day complete. They can rest now, side by side, in the peaceful, silent harmony of your deepening sleep. As we venture deeper into the inner landscape of the mind, we arrive now at the very heart of our experience, the world of emotion. Feelings are the weather of our inner world, sometimes calm and sunny, sometimes turbulent and stormy. They are not simple thoughts that we can neatly categorize. They are complex, full-body experiences. And while emotion involves the entire brain, the two hemispheres play distinct and fascinating roles in how we generate, experience, and express our feelings. They are the twin architects of our emotional lives. Let us start with a general observation, a gentle distinction. The right hemisphere is often considered the more emotional of the two, especially when it comes to processing and expressing raw, intense feelings. It is more closely connected to the deeper, more ancient parts of our brain, like the limbic system, the seat of our primal emotions. The amygdala, two small almond-shaped structures tucked deep within the brain, acts as our emotional alarm system, constantly scanning for threats or rewards. And the right hemisphere seems to listen more closely to the amygdala's signals. It is particularly attuned to negative emotions like fear, sadness, and anger. It is the part of us that feels the gut punch of bad news, the sting of rejection, the sudden wave of anxiety. It experiences these feelings in a holistic, unfiltered way. The left hemisphere, on the other hand, tends to approach emotion in a more analytical way. It is the part that tries to make sense of our feelings, to put a name to them. After the right hemisphere feels that initial wave of sadness, the left hemisphere steps in and says, "I am feeling sad because I miss my friend." It links the raw feeling to a cause, creating a story around it. It is also more associated with positive, approach-oriented emotions. Feelings like happiness, joy, and curiosity often show more activity in the left frontal lobe. This is the part of you that feels a sense of hopeful anticipation, the drive to explore, to engage with the world. Think of it this way. Your right hemisphere is the artist painting a vast abstract canvas of your emotional state. It uses broad strokes, deep colors, and powerful textures to capture the raw feeling of a moment. Your left hemisphere is the art critic who stands beside the canvas, observing it, interpreting it, giving it a title, and writing a description of what it all means. Both are essential. Without the artist, there would be no feeling. Without the critic, the feeling might remain a chaotic, overwhelming mystery. This division of labor can be seen in how we express emotion. Because the right hemisphere controls the left side of the body, the left side of our face is often more emotionally expressive than the right. A genuine smile or a look of sorrow often appears a split second earlier, and with slightly more intensity on the left side of the mouth and around the left eye. It is a subtle, fleeting asymmetry, a tiny window into the right hemisphere's direct line to our emotional core. The two hemispheres are also in a constant state of regulation, a delicate balancing act. The more logical, language-based left hemisphere, particularly the prefrontal cortex, can act as a brake on the raw impulses of the right hemisphere and the limbic system. It is the voice of reason that says, "Take a deep breath. Let's think about this before we react." This is the foundation of emotional regulation, the ability to feel our feelings without being completely overwhelmed by them. It is a dialogue between the part of us that feels and the part of us that knows. As you rest here now, there is no need for this complex dance of expression and regulation. You can simply allow the emotional weather of your mind to become calm. Let any lingering feelings from the day, whether they are from the right hemisphere or the left, simply be. You don't need to analyze them or push them away. Imagine them as clouds, drifting slowly across the vast, quiet sky of your awareness. They are just passing through. Beneath them, the sky remains clear, peaceful, and still. And in this stillness, you can find a deep and profound rest. Let us now allow our journey to follow you down into the soft and welcoming state you are approaching, the world of sleep. As the conscious mind lets go, as the outside world fades into a distant murmur, the brain does not simply shut down. Instead, it enters a new and mysterious country, a hidden phase of its existence where it works tirelessly to heal, to restore, and to make sense of the day. And in this nocturnal world, the relationship between the two hemispheres shifts and transforms, revealing a deeper level of unity and purpose. The sleeping brain is a brain in quiet, dedicated service to itself. As you first begin to drift off, you enter the early, light stages of sleep. Here, the brain's activity begins to slow. The fast, crackling beta waves of waking thought give way to the slower, more relaxed alpha waves, and then the even slower theta waves. During this gentle descent, the hemispheres begin to synchronize. The constant, busy chatter between them quiets down. The distinct roles they play during the day, the linguist and the artist, the analyst and the synthesizer, begin to blur. They are no longer two separate entities collaborating on tasks, but a single, unified system, preparing for a period of profound rest and consolidation. Then, you sink deeper into what is called slow-wave sleep. This is the deepest and most restorative phase of sleep. Here, your brainwaves become long, slow, and powerful, appearing as great, rolling delta waves on an EEG. During this time, the brain is performing crucial housekeeping tasks. It is clearing out metabolic waste products that have built up during the day. It is repairing cells. It is strengthening your immune system. And most importantly, it is consolidating memories. Think of your experiences from the day as new books delivered to the libraries of your mind. During the day, they are piled up in the entryway, in a temporary holding area called the hippocampus. They are disorganized and vulnerable. During slow-wave sleep, the brain's librarians get to work. They take these new books and carefully catalog them, finding the right shelves for them in the vast cortex, the long-term storage of the brain. This process involves a beautiful, slow-paced conversation between the hippocampus and the cortex, a dialogue that happens across both hemispheres. A memory of a conversation might have its verbal components stored in the left hemisphere and its emotional tone stored in the right. Slow-wave sleep is the time when these disparate elements are woven together, integrated into the fabric of your long-term knowledge. This quiet, unconscious work is why a good night's sleep can help you learn a new skill or solve a problem that seemed impossible the day before. During this deep, dreamless state, the hemispheres are in their most unified state. They are like two continents that have drifted back together, their coastlines merging into one. The electrical activity rises and falls in a slow, powerful, synchronized rhythm across the entire brain. It is a state of profound coherence and peace. The division of labor, so important for navigating the complexities of the waking world, is set aside. Here, in the deep, silent dark, the brain is simply one. One whole, healing, resting organism. As you continue to sink toward this state, you can feel this sense of unity within yourself. The separation between thoughts and feelings, between logic and intuition, begins to dissolve. Even the separation between your mind and your body seems to fade. You are not a collection of parts. You are one single, whole being, resting peacefully. There is nothing to do, nothing to figure out, The quiet, intelligent processes of your sleeping brain are taking over. You can trust them. You can surrender to them. You can let yourself be carried by this slow, powerful wave into the deepest, most healing quiet. From the deep, quiet ocean of slow wave sleep, we gently rise. The brain's rhythm begins to quicken. We are not waking, but rather drifting into another of sleep's mysterious realms, a world of vibrant, illogical, and often profound stories. We are entering the stage of rapid eye movement, or REM sleep. This is the kingdom of dreams. And in this kingdom, the two hemispheres once again take on their unique roles. But this time, they are not collaborating on the tasks of the real world. They are creating a world entirely of their own. As you enter a dream, it is often the right hemisphere that takes the lead. It is the great world builder, the set designer of the subconscious. Think about the nature of your dreams. They are rarely linear or logical. They are intensely visual, spatial, and emotional. You find yourself in strange, surreal landscapes. You see the faces of people you know, and people you have never met. The rules of physics do not apply. You can fly, you can breathe underwater, you can walk through walls. This bizarre, associative, and image-rich quality is the hallmark of the right hemisphere style of thinking. It is connecting ideas and memories not based on logic, but on emotional resonance, on subtle, hidden links. The raw, powerful emotions you feel in dreams, the terror of being chased, the euphoria of flying, the deep sorrow of a loss, are also courtesy of the right hemisphere's close connection to the limbic system. During REM sleep, the amygdala becomes highly active, generating intense feelings that are untethered from the context of your waking life. At the same time, the logical, regulating parts of the prefrontal cortex are dampened down. This is why dreams can feel so incredibly real and emotionally potent while you are in them, even if they make no sense upon waking. The emotional artist is painting freely, without the critic looking over its shoulder. But the left hemisphere is not completely silent during this process. It is still there, in the background, trying its best to make sense of the wild, chaotic narrative being spun by its partner. It is the part of you in the dream that is trying to figure things out, to create a story, however strange, out of the surreal imagery and emotions. It is the narrator who attempts to weave the scene of your childhood home, the feeling of anxiety about a work project, and the image of a talking cat into some kind of coherent, if bizarre, plotline. The left hemisphere storyteller is working with very strange material, and it does the best it can. This is why dreams often have a narrative quality, a sense of one thing happening after another, even if the transitions are nonsensical. Some neuroscientists believe that this process serves a vital function. Dreaming, in this view, is a form of overnight therapy. The right hemisphere brings up powerful, emotionally charged memories and experiences in the safe, symbolic space of a dream. The left hemisphere then attempts to integrate these experiences into your life story, stripping them of their sharpest emotional charge. It is a way of processing difficult feelings, of finding new connections, and of preparing you to face the next day with a slightly lighter emotional load. It is a nightly dialogue between feeling and meaning, between image and story. You do not need to remember your dreams for this process to be beneficial. The work is being done quietly, beneath the surface of your awareness. So as you drift now, perhaps on the very edge of a dream, know that you are safe. You are entering a creative, healing space, a world co-authored by the artist and the storyteller within you. Let them play. Let them create their strange and wonderful worlds. Your only task is to rest, to float, and to allow this magical nightly process to unfold all on its own. Let us now turn our gentle gaze toward a quality that we hold in the highest esteem, a spark that feels almost magical in its power to create and to solve. Let's think about creativity. For so long, the simple story told us that creativity was a gift of the right hemisphere alone. We imagined the artist, the musician, the inventor, all living exclusively in that intuitive, free-flowing world. But like all the brain's great endeavors, creativity is not a solo performance. It is a breathtaking duet, a perfectly timed dance between the distinct talents of both hemispheres. True creativity requires both the wildness of the artist and the discipline of the craftsman. The dance often begins in the right hemisphere. This is the home of what is known as divergent thinking. Divergent means moving outward, exploring in many directions at once. It is the ability to brainstorm, to make loose connections, to see possibilities where others see none. The right hemisphere is comfortable with ambiguity and uncertainty. It can hold multiple, even contradictory ideas at the same time. It thinks in webs and maps, not in straight lines. This is the phase of creativity that feels like play, like exploration. It's the painter staring at a blank canvas and seeing 1,000 possible paintings. It's the writer jotting down scattered words and phrases. It's the scientist allowing their mind to wander freely around a difficult problem, making strange and unexpected connections. This is the spark, the initial flash of insight, the aha moment that seems to come from nowhere. But an aha moment alone does not create a finished work of art or a viable invention. A spark is not a fire. To turn that initial insight into something real, something that works in the world, the left hemisphere must be invited to the dance. This is the home of convergent thinking. Convergent means moving inward, narrowing down, focusing on a single, best solution. The left hemisphere takes the wild, divergent ideas generated by the right and begins to analyze, to structure, and to refine them. It is the left hemisphere that asks the critical questions. Of the 1,000 possible paintings, which one has the strongest composition? Of all the scattered words, which ones best fit the rhythm and meaning of the poem? Of all the strange connections, which one points toward a testable hypothesis? It is the left hemisphere that provides the focus, the discipline, and the step-by-step planning needed to execute the creative vision. It is the architect that turns a beautiful dream of a house into a detailed blueprint. It is the editor that polishes a rough draft into a powerful story. It is the engineer that builds and tests the prototype. Think of the process of composing music. The initial melody, the emotional theme, might spring forth from the right hemisphere in a moment of inspiration. But to build that melody into a full symphony, the composer must use the left hemisphere's understanding of musical theory, of structure, of harmony, and of timing. The passion and the principles must work together. One without the other is incomplete. 1,000 brilliant ideas without the focus to execute them remain just ideas. A technically perfect execution without an original spark of insight can feel lifeless and empty. This beautiful partnership is the true source of all human innovation. It is the ability to dream and the ability to build, the ability to wonder and the ability to test. And this creative partnership is not just for artists and scientists. You use it every day. You use it when you figure out a new route to work, when you tell a funny story, when you find a creative solution to a household problem. It is an innate part of being human. And now, as you rest, this dynamic, creative dance can come to a gentle pause. The divergent and the convergent mind can both be still. There are no problems to solve, no ideas to generate. There is only the simple, quiet, restorative act of being. Let your mind be a still, clear lake, reflecting the peaceful darkness, whole and at rest. Let's allow our awareness to drift to something so fundamental, so deeply ingrained in our being, that we rarely ever think about it. Let's consider your hands. For most of us, one hand is the clear leader. It is the hand we write with, the one we eat with, the one we instinctively reach out with to greet the world. This is our dominant hand. And this simple fact of handedness is a beautiful, visible sign of the invisible specialization happening deep within our brains. It is a direct reflection of the lateralization of our hemispheres. For the vast majority of people, around 90%, the right hand is the dominant one. This is no accident. It is intimately connected to the fact that for most people, the crucial centers for language reside in the left hemisphere. As we've explored, the left hemisphere controls the right side of the body. Neuroscientists believe that as our ancestors evolved the complex skills of language, the left hemisphere became highly specialized. This specialization spilled over to the control of fine motor skills. The same part of the brain that was learning to coordinate the intricate movements of the tongue and lips to form words was also perfectly suited to control the intricate movements of the hand for tasks like tool making and eventually writing. Hand and voice, gesture and grammar grew up together, side by side, in the same neural neighborhood of the left hemisphere. So, when a right-handed person writes a letter, it is a beautiful act of single hemisphere dominance. The left hemisphere is formulating the words, arranging the sentences, and at the same time, it is directing the muscles of the right hand to form the shapes of the letters on the page. It is a seamless integration of thought and action. But what about the 10%? What about the left-handers who live in a world largely designed for the right-handed majority? The story of the left-handed brain is more complex and far more varied. For some left-handers, the brain is a near-perfect mirror image of a right-hander's. Their language centers are predominantly in the right hemisphere, which controls their dominant left hand. Everything is simply flipped. But for many other left-handers, the picture is much more mixed. Language might be shared more equally across both hemispheres, or it might still be based in the left hemisphere, just like a right-hander. This suggests that the connection between language and handedness is a strong tendency, but not an unbreakable rule. This greater diversity in brain organization in left-handers has led to many theories and myths. Some have suggested it correlates with higher creativity, as it might necessitate a stronger connection, a more robust corpus callosum, between the two hemispheres. Imagine the brain of a left-hander whose language is in the left hemisphere. To write, the language center in the left must send its instructions all the way across the corpus callosum to the right hemisphere, which then controls the left hand. This constant cross-hemisphere communication could, in theory, foster more integrated, whole-brain thinking. While the scientific evidence for this is still being debated, it is a fascinating idea that being a lefty might train the brain to be a more flexible, collaborative system from birth. Whether you are right-handed, left-handed, or one of the very rare few who are truly ambidextrous, your handedness is a quiet testament to the way your brain has organized itself. It is a personal signature of your neural architecture. But as you lie here now, ready for sleep, your hands are at rest. The dominant hand and the non-dominant hand are both still. The hemispheres that control them are quieting their signals. The distinction between them fades. They are simply your hands, resting peacefully, part of your whole, resting body. Let go of the urge to do, to grasp, to write. There is nothing to hold on to now, except the deep, comforting stillness of this present moment. As we continue our slow, gentle drift through the inner cosmos of the mind, let us pause on a concept that is perhaps the most hopeful and wondrous of all. We have been speaking of the brain structure, of its hemispheres and regions, as if it were a fixed and permanent map, drawn in ink at birth. But the truth is far more dynamic, more alive. The brain is not a static blueprint. It is a living landscape, constantly being reshaped by the rivers of our experience. This remarkable ability to change, to adapt, and to reorganize itself is known as neuroplasticity. And it is the secret to how we learn, how we heal, and how we become who we are. For a long time, it was believed that the adult brain was essentially fixed. The connections were set, and if a part was damaged, its functions were lost forever. But we now know that this is not true. The brain is more like clay than stone. Every time you learn a new skill, practice a habit, or even just think a new thought, you are subtly reshaping your neural pathways. The connections between neurons can grow stronger with use, or they can wither away from disuse. The famous saying in neuroscience is, "Neurons that fire together, wire together." This means that every experience you have is leaving a subtle trace, a gentle imprint on the physical structure of your mind. This principle of plasticity applies beautifully to the two hemispheres. While they have their innate specializations, their roles are not set in stone. For example, if a person learns to play the violin, a detailed map of the fingers of their left hand, the one pressing the strings, will expand in the right hemisphere's sensory cortex. The brain devotes more neural real estate to the skill that is being practiced. The landscape literally changes to accommodate the new learning. The conversation between the hemispheres can also change. An activity that initially requires a great deal of effort and communication between both halves can, with practice, become more localized and efficient, primarily handled by one hemisphere. The most dramatic examples of neuroplasticity are seen in cases of brain injury. If a part of one hemisphere is damaged, especially early in life, the brain can perform a remarkable feat of reorganization. Its functions do not simply vanish. Instead, the other hemisphere can often take over the lost abilities. For instance, if a child suffers damage to the language centers in their left hemisphere, the right hemisphere can adapt and learn to process language instead. It can repurpose its own neural territory, which might normally be used for spatial tasks, and transform it into a functioning language center. It is a testament to the brain's incredible resilience and its profound drive to create a whole functioning mind. This means that the map of your brain is utterly unique to you. It has been shaped by the language you speak, the instruments you play, the places you've navigated, the skills you've mastered, and the thoughts you've chosen to think. Your mind is a living record of your life's journey, written into its very wiring. This is a quiet, powerful thought. It means that we are not passive inhabitants of our minds. We are active sculptors. Through our attention, our practice, and our curiosity, we are constantly, gently shaping the landscape within. And now, as you lie here, you are engaging in a gentle act of neuroplasticity yourself, by allowing your mind to focus on these calm, soothing thoughts. By letting go of worry and stress, you are strengthening the neural pathways associated with relaxation and peace. You are teaching your brain how to find stillness. You are carving a new riverbed for a calmer stream of thought. There is no effort required. The process is happening naturally, just by your willingness to be here, to rest. Let your mind soften, let the clay be still, and allow the gentle, restorative work of sleep to shape you into a more rested, more peaceful version of yourself. Let's gently turn our attention outward for a moment, not to the world around you now, but to the world as you perceive it. Your experience of reality, the vibrant, three-dimensional world you move through every day, feels seamless and whole. But this seamless experience is a clever illusion, a masterpiece of integration performed every moment by your two cerebral hemispheres. Each hemisphere is responsible for one half of your perceptual world, and the story of how they create a unified picture is a quiet miracle of collaboration. Consider your sense of sight. When you look straight ahead, everything to the left of your nose, your entire left visual field, is initially processed by the right hemisphere of your brain. Everything to the right of your nose, your right visual field, is processed by your left hemisphere. This is true for both eyes. Information from the left side of what each eye sees crosses over to the right side of the brain, and vice versa. So, for a brief moment, your brain has two separate partial pictures of the world. One half has no idea what the other half is seeing. It is the corpus callosum, that great neural bridge that instantly stitches these two halves together. The information is shared so quickly, so effortlessly, that you never experience a split or a seam. You just see one single, stable, unified world. The right hemisphere, with its expertise in spatial relationships, provides the sense of depth, the overall context of the scene. The left hemisphere, with its focus on detail, helps to identify and name the specific objects within that scene. You see the whole forest and the individual trees all at once, thanks to this perfect partnership. The same principle applies to your sense of touch. If you were to hold a cool, smooth stone in your left hand, the sensation would travel to your right hemisphere. The right hemisphere would process the raw feelings of temperature and texture. But if you were asked to describe the stone, the right hemisphere would need to send that sensory information across the corpus callosum to the left hemisphere's language centers, which would then find the words cool and smooth. Again, this happens in an instant. You don't feel the sensation on one side, and then, a moment later, think of the word. The experience is immediate and whole. Even your sense of hearing involves this hemispheric dance. While both ears send information to both hemispheres, there is a subtle specialization. The left hemisphere tends to be more dominant in processing the fast, sharp sounds of speech, the consonants and syllables that form words. The right hemisphere, true to its nature, is more specialized in processing the melodic qualities of sound, the pitch, the tone, and the rhythm of a voice, or the harmony of music. When you listen to a song with lyrics, your left hemisphere is busy decoding the words while your right hemisphere is swaying to the melody. You hear one song, one unified piece of music, because they are working in perfect harmony. This constant, invisible process of binding and integration is one of the brain's most fundamental tasks. It takes the fragmented, specialized inputs from all over the brain and weaves them into the coherent tapestry of your reality. It is the silent, tireless work that allows you to feel like a single, unified self, living in a single, unified world. And now, as you lay here, this intricate process can gently power down. Your eyes are closed, so there are no visual fields to integrate. The world of sensation has narrowed to the simple feeling of your body at rest. The world of sound has softened to my voice. The great integrator can rest. The weavers can put down their threads. There is no need to create a complex picture of the world right now. The only reality you need to inhabit is this simple, peaceful moment of stillness. Let your perception dissolve into a gentle, formless awareness and drift. As we continue to float deeper into this state of quiet contemplation, let's consider the two great currents of our attention. Our minds have the remarkable ability to focus, to shine a spotlight on one single thing amidst a sea of distractions. But we also have the ability to broaden our awareness, to take in the whole scene, to be open to whatever arises. These two modes of attention, the focused and the open, are not just different states of mind. They are beautifully supported by the different styles of our two hemispheres. The left hemisphere is the master of focused attention. Think of its spotlight as a laser beam, narrow, precise, and powerful. This is the state of mind you enter when you are concentrating deeply on a task, like reading a challenging book, solving a math problem, or carefully following a set of instructions. The left hemisphere excels at filtering out distractions. It helps you zoom in on the relevant details while ignoring everything else. It is goal-oriented. It knows what it's looking for, and it systematically searches for it. This is the attention that helps us achieve things, to complete tasks, to bring order to our work. It is an incredibly powerful tool, but it comes at a cost. When you are in this laser-focused mode, you can become blind to the things happening just outside the beam of your attention. You might not notice the person who just walked into the room, or the changing light outside your window. The right hemisphere, in contrast, is the guardian of broad, open monitoring attention. Its spotlight is not a laser, but a lantern, casting a wide, gentle, and inclusive glow. This is the state of mind you experience when you are simply being present, without a specific goal. It's the feeling of taking a walk in nature and just noticing the sights, sounds, and smells around you. It's the state of mind of a meditator who is openly aware of their breath, their body sensations, and the thoughts that drift by. The right hemisphere keeps us connected to the bigger picture, the overall context. It is vigilant and watchful, always scanning the horizon for anything new, unexpected, or important. It is this broad attention that can alert you to a potential danger in your peripheral vision, or allow you to have a sudden creative insight by noticing a connection you would have missed in a state of narrow focus. A healthy, flexible mind needs both. We need the laser to get things done, and we need the lantern to stay connected, to remain open to novelty, and to see the whole context of our lives. We are constantly shifting between these two modes throughout the day, often without even realizing it. You might be focused intently on writing an email, left hemisphere, then pause and gaze out the window, your mind wandering freely, right hemisphere, before returning your focus to the screen. This is the natural rhythm of a balanced mind. However, in our modern busy world, we often get stuck in the laser beam mode of the left hemisphere. We are constantly focused on tasks, schedules, goals, and digital screens. We can forget how to simply be, how to rest in the gentle, open awareness of the right hemisphere's lantern. And that is what you are being invited to do now. As you lie here, you can consciously let go of the laser beam of focused attention. There is nothing you need to achieve, no problem you need to solve. You can allow the spotlight of your mind to soften and widen. Let it become a lantern, filling the space of your inner world with a gentle, accepting glow. Your attention can rest on the simple sensation of your breath, moving in and out. It can be aware of the feeling of heaviness in your limbs. It can notice any sounds in the room without needing to label or analyze them. You can just be, open, aware, and at peace. This is a profound form of rest for the mind, a letting go, a coming home to the quiet, spacious awareness that is always here, waiting beneath the busy surface of your thoughts. Let's drift into the vast, quiet archives of the mind, into the realm of memory. Your ability to remember is not a single function, but a rich tapestry woven from many different threads. And our two hemispheres contribute to this tapestry in their own unique and complementary ways. They work together to create the rich, multi-layered experience of recalling the past. One provides the facts, and the other provides the feeling. The left hemisphere is often considered the brain's archivist. It specializes in what is known as semantic and episodic memory in a very particular way. Semantic memory is your memory for facts, for knowledge about the world. Things like knowing that Paris is the capital of France, or that a dog is a mammal. The left hemisphere is brilliant at storing and retrieving this kind of explicit, verbal information. It is the part of you that could answer a question on a history test. It deals in the black and white print of the past. It also plays a key role in the narrative aspect of episodic memory, the memory of your personal experiences. It is the storyteller that takes an event from your past and organizes it into a coherent story, with a beginning, a middle, and an end. It remembers the sequence of events. First, we drove to the beach. Then, we went for a swim. After that, we had a picnic. It encodes the literal, factual details of what happened. It is the keeper of your autobiography's text. The right hemisphere, however, is the keeper of the autobiography's soul. It doesn't store the past as a sequence of facts, but as a holistic, sensory, and emotional experience. It is the master of the nonverbal aspects of memory. When you recall that day at the beach, your right hemisphere is what brings the memory to life. It remembers the feeling of the warm sun on your skin, the sound of the crashing waves, the vast blue expanse of the ocean and sky. It remembers the look on your friend's face as they laughed. Most importantly, it remembers the emotion of the day, the feeling of happiness, of freedom, of peace. It stores the memory not as a story, but as a rich, multisensory collage. This is why a certain smell can suddenly transport you back to your childhood kitchen, or a snippet of a song can bring back a flood of feelings from your teenage years. These sensory and emotional cues are powerful keys that unlock the archives of the right hemisphere. A memory stored there is not just recalled. It is re-experienced. You feel a ghost of the original emotion. A complete, vivid memory requires both hemispheres working in perfect concert. The left provides the what, the when, and the who. The right provides the how it felt. Without the left, your memories might be a swirl of disconnected feelings and images with no story to hold them together. Without the right, your past would be like a dry, factual textbook. All the information there, but with all the life drained out of it. As you rest here now, there is no need to actively search through these archives. The libraries of your mind can close for the night. The archivist and the artist can both be still. Sometimes, as we drift towards sleep, fragments of memory may float up on their own. A face, a place, a feeling. You don't need to grasp onto them or analyze them. Just let them be like gentle clouds drifting by. They are simply the mind settling, the archives putting themselves in order for the night. Let the past be the past. Your only task now is to be present, here in this moment of deep, profound rest, creating a quiet, peaceful memory of this very moment. Let us gently turn our thoughts to the invisible architecture that underlies our choices, our habits, and our very sense of self. Deep within the brain, there exists a delicate and constant interplay between two fundamental systems: the system that seeks reward and the system that avoids threat. This is the dance of approach and avoidance, and it is a dance that is beautifully choreographed by the differing biases of our two hemispheres. The left hemisphere, particularly its frontal regions, is the engine of our approach system. It is the part of us that is drawn toward positive outcomes, toward exploration, curiosity, and engagement with the world. It is fueled by the neurotransmitter dopamine, and it generates feelings of anticipation, desire, and pleasure. When you set a goal, when you feel motivated to learn something new, when you feel a sense of hopeful optimism about the future, you are feeling the influence of this left hemisphere system. It is the voice that says, yes, go for it. This could be good. It is oriented toward action, toward moving forward into the world to seek out resources, connections, and rewards. It is the engine of our ambition and our joy. The right hemisphere, in contrast, is more closely aligned with our avoidance or withdrawal system. It is the brain's vigilant sentinel, constantly scanning for potential threats, dangers, and negative outcomes. It is highly sensitive to punishment and is closely linked to emotions like fear, anxiety, and disgust. This is the system that makes you cautious when entering a dark, unfamiliar alley. It's the part of you that feels the sting of criticism or the pain of social rejection. It is the voice that says, be careful, hold back, this could be dangerous. Its primary job is to keep you safe, to protect you from harm by encouraging you to withdraw from threatening situations. It is the source of our caution and our deepest sense of self-preservation. A healthy, well-adjusted life requires a dynamic balance between these two systems. We need the left hemisphere's approach motivation to get us out of bed in the morning, to pursue our goals, and to find joy in life. But we also need the right hemisphere's avoidance system to keep us from making reckless decisions and to alert us to genuine dangers. The two work in a constant state of push and pull, a delicate equilibrium that shapes our personality and our day-to-day choices. Sometimes, this balance can be temporarily skewed. If you've had a particularly stressful day, filled with setbacks and frustrations, your right hemisphere's avoidance system might become overactive. The world can start to look more threatening, and you might feel more inclined to withdraw and shut down. Conversely, on a day filled with success and positive feedback, your left hemisphere's approach system might be in high gear, making you feel confident, outgoing, and optimistic. Understanding this gentle, hemispheric tug-of-war can be a form of self-compassion. It helps us see that our moods and motivations are not just random whims, but are rooted in the deep, biological currents of our brains. And now, as you lie here in this safe, comfortable space, you can give both of these systems a well-deserved rest. There are no rewards to chase and no threats to avoid. The approach system can power down. The sentinel can go off duty. The left hemisphere can cease its striving, and the right hemisphere can cease its worrying. You are safe, you are secure. You can let go of both the pull toward the future and the fear of what might be. All that is required is to rest in the perfect, peaceful balance of this present moment, where nothing is needed and everything is all right. Let's imagine the mind as a great and ancient tree. The visible parts, the trunk, the branches, the leaves, are our conscious thoughts, the things we are aware of from moment to moment. But beneath the surface, there is a vast hidden root system that nourishes and supports everything we see. This is our unconscious mind, and much of its silent, powerful work is orchestrated by the distinct styles of our two hemispheres, particularly the right hemisphere, which acts as the main conduit to this deeper, non-verbal world. The left hemisphere, with its love of language and logic, is the dominant force in our conscious waking life. It is the narrator, the interpreter, the part of us that creates the running commentary of our day. It thinks in words, and so its processes are relatively transparent to us. We can hear our own thoughts. We can follow our own line of reasoning. The left brain operates largely in the sunlit world above the ground. The right hemisphere, however, speaks a different language. It does not think primarily in words, but in images, in feelings, in bodily sensations, and in patterns. Its processes are more holistic, more intuitive, and largely silent. It is the deep root system, constantly absorbing a vast amount of information from the world that our conscious mind never even registers. It is processing the subtle shifts in someone's body language, the feeling in a room, the background sounds that our left brain has filtered out. This is the home of our intuition, those gut feelings that seem to come from nowhere. They don't come from nowhere. They come from here, from the right hemisphere's vast, unconscious processing of subtle, non-verbal data. Think of how you can instantly know if a close friend is upset, even if they say everything is fine. Your left brain hears the words, "I'm fine," and takes them literally. But your right brain sees the microscopic tension around their eyes, hears the subtle flatness in their voice, and senses a dissonance, an incongruity. It sends a silent signal, a feeling of unease, a gut instinct that something is wrong. It is speaking to you not in sentences, but in the language of pure feeling. This deep connection to the unconscious also means the right hemisphere is the keeper of our embodied experience. It maintains the map of our internal bodily state, a process called interoception. It is the part of you that feels your own heartbeat, the sinking feeling in your stomach, the tension in your shoulders. It is the bridge between mind and body. The wisdom of the body, its aches, its pains, its feelings of ease, is communicated to the conscious mind largely through this silent right hemisphere channel. The unconscious world of the right hemisphere is not a scary or primitive place. It is a source of profound wisdom, creativity, and connection. It is the wellspring of our dreams, as we've explored. It is the source of the sudden creative insight that solves a problem when we're not even consciously thinking about it. It is the part of us that feels a deep connection to nature, to art, to music, to something larger than our individual, verbalizing self. As you rest here, you are creating the perfect conditions to listen to this quieter, deeper part of yourself. By letting the chattering narrator of the left hemisphere grow still, you create space for the silent wisdom of the right hemisphere to emerge. You don't need to try to hear it. The simple act of relaxing, of turning your attention inward to the sensations of your body and your breath, is an act of honoring this connection. You are watering the roots of your own being. Let go of the need for words and explanations. Simply feel. Feel the weight of your body, the gentle rise and fall of your chest. In this silent, sensory world, you can find a profound sense of peace and wholeness, a deep rest that nourishes you from the ground up. Let's gently drift our attention to the way we understand each other, our ability to connect with other people, to form friendships, to love, and to cooperate is arguably the most important aspect of our lives. This intricate social world is not navigated by logic alone. It requires a deep, intuitive understanding of other minds, a capacity often called empathy or mentalizing. And this quintessentially human skill is a beautiful, intricate dance between the specialized talents of our two hemispheres. The journey to understanding another person often begins in the right hemisphere. As we've discovered, the right hemisphere is the expert in reading the nonverbal cues that make up the vast majority of our communication. It is the part of you that effortlessly decodes facial expressions, body language, and tone of voice. When you meet someone, long before your left brain has analyzed what they've said, your right brain has already gathered a wealth of information. It has formed a holistic, intuitive impression of their emotional state, their level of confidence, their openness or reservation. It creates a feeling about them. This is the foundation of effective empathy, the ability to feel what someone else is feeling. The right hemisphere, with its strong connections to our own emotional and bodily centers, allows us to simulate, or resonate with, another person's state. When you see a friend in tears, you don't just logically deduce that they are sad, you feel a pang of sadness yourself. This shared emotional experience is a powerful social glue, and it is largely a right hemisphere phenomenon. But understanding another person requires more than just feeling their feelings. It also requires understanding their thoughts, their beliefs, their intentions, what is known as cognitive empathy. And here, the left hemisphere joins the dance. Once the right hemisphere has provided the raw emotional and nonverbal data, the left hemisphere, our great storyteller, begins to construct a theory about what is going on in the other person's mind. It asks, why are they feeling this way? What might they be thinking? What is their perspective? It takes the emotional data and weaves it into a coherent narrative. For example, your right hemisphere feels your friend's sadness. Your left hemisphere then accesses its knowledge of your friend's life and thinks, they are sad, probably because they had a difficult conversation with their boss today, which they told me about this morning. It creates a story, a theory of mind, that makes sense of the emotional state. This allows you to respond not just with shared feeling, but with genuine understanding and helpful advice. A breakdown in either side of this partnership can lead to difficulties in social interaction. If the right hemisphere's abilities are impaired, a person might become like a social robot, able to understand the literal meaning of words, but completely missing the emotional subtext. They might not realize when they have offended someone or when someone is telling a joke. If the left hemisphere's narrative abilities are compromised, a person might feel the emotions of others acutely, but be unable to understand the context or reason behind them, leading to confusion and overwhelm. Our rich, nuanced social lives are a constant, fluid interplay between these two forms of understanding. The intuitive feeling and the reasoned story, the artist and the interpreter, working together to build bridges between our minds. As you lie here now, there are no social cues to interpret, no minds to read other than your own. The intricate machinery of empathy can power down. You can let go of the need to understand or be understood. You can simply be. Resting in the quiet solitude of your own being, you are gathering the energy you will need for the social connections of tomorrow. In this peaceful state, you are restoring the very parts of your brain that allow you to connect, to care, and to love. As our journey continues to meander through the quiet landscapes of the brain, let's explore how our two hemispheres help us navigate not just space, but also time. Our perception of time is one of the most mysterious aspects of human consciousness. It doesn't seem to be perceived by a single sense, like sight or sound, yet it is a fundamental dimension of our reality. And the way we experience the flow of moments from the past, through the present, and into the future, is shaped by the different temporal styles of our two hemispheres. The left hemisphere can be thought of as the brain's clock watcher. With its preference for sequence, order, and linearity, it is the part of us that perceives time as a measurable, quantifiable, and linear progression. It understands minutes, hours, days, and years. It is the part of you that can make a schedule, plan for the future, and remember the sequence of events in the past. It chops the continuous flow of experience into discrete, manageable units. When you are focused on a task and aware that 5 minutes have passed, you are operating in the left hemisphere's temporal world. It is the source of our sense of duration, the steady tick-tock that gives structure to our lives. This clock time is incredibly useful for navigating the demands of the modern world, for meeting deadlines and coordinating with others. The right hemisphere, however, experiences time in a completely different way. It is not a clock, but a current. It is the home of what you might call lived time, or deep time. The right hemisphere is anchored in the present moment, in the rich sensory experience of the now. It is less concerned with how many minutes have passed, and more concerned with the quality and texture of the moment itself. When you are completely absorbed in an activity you love, whether it's listening to music, being in nature, or having a deep conversation, you often lose track of time. Hours can feel like minutes. This is because you have shifted into the right hemisphere's temporal reality, a timeless state of flow where the clock-watching self recedes into the background. The right hemisphere is also our connection to a deeper, more cyclical sense of time. It understands the rhythms of the day, the changing of the seasons, the cycles of life and death. It connects us to a sense of time that is larger than our own individual lifespan. It is the part of you that can feel a connection to history, to your ancestors, or to the vast, slow-moving timescale of the cosmos. It doesn't measure time, it inhabits it. Our full human experience of time is a blend of these two modes. We need the left brain's clock to function in society, but we need the right brain's current to feel truly alive, to be present, and to find meaning. Getting stuck in clock time can lead to a life that feels rushed, stressful, and disconnected from the present. We are always looking at the clock, worrying about the next appointment, thinking about the future, or ruminating on the past, but never truly being where we are. And so, the invitation tonight, as you rest, is to gently step out of clock time. Let the left hemisphere's timekeeper go off duty. There are no schedules to keep, no deadlines to meet. The future and the past are just thoughts. You can allow your awareness to sink into the deep, timeless now of the right hemisphere. Feel the simple, rhythmic current of your breath. Notice the stillness of your body. In this state, there is no rush. There is nowhere to go and nothing to do. You can simply float on the gentle, endless river of the present moment. This is a profound rest from the tyranny of the clock, a return to the simple, timeless being that is your true nature. As we draw closer to the shores of deep sleep, let's consider one final, profound partnership between the hemispheres. Their roles in shaping our sense of self. The feeling of being me, the continuous identity that you carry through your life, feels so solid and singular. But this self is not a single entity located in one spot in the brain. It is a complex and dynamic construction, a story co-authored every moment by the distinct contributions of both halves of your mind. The left hemisphere, our great narrator, is the primary author of what we might call the ego self, or the narrative self. It is the part of us that creates the story of who we are. It takes all our disparate memories, beliefs, and experiences, and weaves them into a coherent, linear story. This story has a past, a present, and a projected future. The left hemisphere is constantly updating this narrative, interpreting new events in a way that fits with the existing story of me. It is the voice in your head that says, "I am the kind of person who likes this, who believes that, who did this yesterday and plans to do that tomorrow." This narrative self provides us with a sense of identity, of stability, and of purpose. It is the CEO of our personality, the public face of our identity. The right hemisphere, however, is connected to a different kind of self, a deeper and more fundamental sense of being. This is the embodied self, or the observing self. It is not a story. It is a direct experience. The right hemisphere, with its deep connection to the body and the present moment, gives us the raw feeling of being alive, of existing as a physical being in space. It is the silent background awareness that is simply here, witnessing the world, feeling the sensations of life, prior to any story or label. It is the part of you that feels connected to your body, to other people, and to the natural world. It doesn't think, "I am walking." It simply experiences the sensation of walking. This self is not a character in a story. It is the paper on which the story is written, the awareness in which all experience unfolds. A healthy sense of self involves a fluid, balanced dance between these two modes. We need the left brain's narrative to function in the social world, to have goals, and to learn from our past. But we need the right brain's embodied awareness to feel grounded, to be present, and to feel connected to life on a deeper level. When the left brain's narrator becomes too dominant, we can get lost in our thoughts, trapped in rigid stories about ourselves and the world. We can become disconnected from our bodies and from the present moment. We live in a world of concepts, not reality. The practice of mindfulness, of meditation, and even the simple act of deep relaxation you are engaged in now can be seen as a way of quietening the left brain as narrator and shifting our sense of self more toward the right hemisphere's embodied presence. It is a conscious choice to step out of the story for a while and to simply rest in the feeling of being. As you lie here, on the edge of sleep, you can let go of the story of you. You can release the narrator from its duty. For these next few hours, you don't need to be anyone. You don't need to have a past or a future. You can let the carefully constructed identity dissolve, just for a while. What is left when the story fades? There is just this: the simple, peaceful sensation of existence, the feeling of breath, the warmth of your body, the quiet, observing presence that is your deepest nature. Rest here, in this selfless, storyless peace, and allow the deepest healing to occur, not in the self that thinks, but in the self that simply is. As we settle even deeper into this shared quiet, let our journey now turn to the longest, most patient story the brain tells, the story of its own aging. We often think of aging as a process of decline, of slowing down. But the brain, in its infinite wisdom and plasticity, has a different story to tell. It is a story not of loss, but of adaptation, of reorganization, and of a quiet, emerging wisdom. And one of the most beautiful chapters in this story involves a profound shift in the relationship between the two hemispheres, a gentle coming together after a lifetime of specialized work. Throughout our youth and adulthood, our brains operate with a high degree of lateralization. For most tasks, there is a clear leader. The left hemisphere takes charge of language, the right takes charge of spatial awareness, and so on. This specialization allows for incredible efficiency. It's like having a team of highly trained experts, each focusing on their own specific job. This is the brain of our prime, a powerful, optimized machine for navigating the complexities of life, work, and relationships. But as we grow older, a remarkable and subtle change begins to occur. Neuroscientists have observed a phenomenon they call Harold, which stands for hemispheric asymmetry reduction in older adults. It's a technical name for a beautiful idea. It means that as we age, the brain often becomes less strictly divided in its labor. The strong asymmetry, the clear distinction between the roles of the left and right hemispheres, begins to soften. The two hemispheres start to work more collaboratively, more like a team of seasoned partners than individual specialists. For example, when a younger person performs a verbal memory task, you would typically see strong activation primarily in their left hemisphere. But when an older adult performs the same task with the same level of success, you will often see activation in the left hemisphere and in the corresponding region of the right hemisphere. The brain seems to be recruiting extra help from the other side. It's as if one hemisphere says to the other, "I could use a hand with this," and the other graciously steps in to assist. This is not a sign of failure. It is a sign of brilliant adaptation. The brain, sensing that some of its specialized circuits may not be as fast or efficient as they once were, compensates by calling in reinforcements. It is creating what neuroscientists call a neural scaffold. It builds a supportive structure, using the resources of both hemispheres to maintain its high level of function. This increased collaboration may be one of the keys to cognitive resilience in aging, the secret to why so many older adults maintain sharp, flexible, and creative minds throughout their lives. Think of it as the brain moving from a mindset of specialization to one of integration. The two halves of the mind, after a lifetime of distinct yet coordinated work, begin to merge their wisdom. The logical mind and the intuitive mind start to speak the same language more fluently. Perhaps this is the neurological basis for what we call wisdom, the ability to see the bigger picture, to integrate logic with emotion, to hold complex and contradictory ideas with a sense of grace and perspective. It is the brain becoming more whole, more unified as it matures. This is a hopeful and gentle thought. It reframes aging not as a simple decline, but as a journey toward wholeness. And as you lie here, resting, you are supporting this lifelong process of healthy brain function. Rest is not empty time. It is the time when the brain repairs, reorganizes, and consolidates. You are giving your mind the precious gift of restoration, allowing it to maintain its beautiful, dynamic balance for all the years to come. There is no need to think about the past or the future now. Simply rest in this present moment, allowing your two hemispheres to find a quiet, peaceful synchrony, a gentle harmony that is the very essence of deep, restorative sleep. Let us allow our awareness now to drift into a world that exists beyond words, a world of pure sound, rhythm, and emotion. Let's explore the profound and universal human experience of music. More than almost any other activity, listening to and creating music reveals the breathtaking symphony of collaboration between our two hemispheres. Music is not processed in one single spot in the brain. It engages a vast network of regions across both sides, lighting up the mind like a festival of lights. It is a true whole brain experience. The journey of a simple melody into your mind begins, as you might now guess, with a division of labor. The initial processing of the core elements of music is beautifully lateralized. The right hemisphere, with its holistic and pattern-recognizing abilities, takes the lead in deciphering the melody and the harmony. It is the part of you that recognizes the overall tune of a song, the rise and fall of the notes, the rich tapestry of chords that create the emotional feeling of the piece. It hears the song as a whole, continuous flow. It is the part that can recognize a familiar song from just a few notes, even if played on a different instrument. At the very same time, the left hemisphere is focused on the more analytical, sequential aspects of the music. It is the master of rhythm and timing. It processes the beat, the tempo, the duration of the notes. It understands the structure and the mathematical relationships between sounds. It is the part of you that wants to tap your foot in time with the beat. And if the music has words, the left hemisphere's language centers, Broca's and Wernicke's areas, spring into action to decode the lyrics, to understand the story being told. So, for a moment, you have two parallel streams of processing: the holistic, melodic contour in the right, and the rhythmic, lyrical detail in the left. But you don't experience music this way. You don't hear a separate melody and a separate beat. You hear one, single, unified piece of music. This magical integration is, once again, the work of the corpus callosum, the great communicator, which seamlessly weaves these two streams of information together into a rich and coherent whole. But the journey doesn't stop there. Music is not just an auditory experience, it is a deeply emotional one. As the melody and rhythm are processed, signals are sent deep into the limbic system, the ancient emotional core of the brain, engaging structures like the amygdala and the nucleus accumbens. This is why music can make you feel such powerful emotions: joy, sadness, nostalgia, awe. It can give you goosebumps, a physical reaction triggered by this deep emotional resonance. And this emotional processing involves constant crosstalk between the hemispheres, with the right hemisphere often taking the lead in generating the raw feeling, and the left trying to make sense of it. Furthermore, if you are a musician playing an instrument, the dance becomes even more intricate. Your motor cortex, spanning both hemispheres, is engaged in the precise physical movements. Your visual cortex is reading the sheet music. Your auditory cortex is monitoring the sound you produce. Your frontal lobes are coordinating it all, planning the next phrase, and imbuing the performance with artistic expression. It is a dazzling display of neural coordination, one of the most complex activities the human brain can perform. Music is a testament to the brain's profound capacity for integration. It reminds us that our greatest human experiences are not the product of one half of the mind, but of the harmonious collaboration of the whole. And now, as you rest, you can let this inner orchestra grow quiet. Imagine the musicians putting down their instruments, the conductor taking a bow. The concert hall of your mind can become silent. Or perhaps you can imagine a single, simple melody, a gentle lullaby, playing softly in the background of your awareness, a soothing sound to accompany you as you drift ever deeper into the peaceful, silent music of sleep. As we float in this calm, deep space, let us venture beyond the concrete world of objects and into the vast, ethereal realm of abstract thought. How does a brain, which evolved to navigate a physical world of trees and stones, come to understand concepts that have no physical form? Concepts like justice, love, freedom, or infinity. This remarkable human capacity for abstract thought is not the work of a single brain region, but another elegant partnership. A dialogue between the hemisphere that names the world and the hemisphere that feels its wholeness. The journey into abstraction often begins with the left hemisphere. It is the great categorizer, the namer, the builder of conceptual systems. It takes the messy, complex world and creates neat boxes, labels, and definitions. It can define justice as a system of laws and moral principles. It can break down the concept of love into different types: familial, romantic, platonic. It creates the scaffolding, the intellectual framework that allows us to talk about and reason with these abstract ideas. Without the left hemisphere's ability to create and manipulate symbols and language, our higher thought would be impossible. It provides the structure for our understanding. However, a definition is not the same as an experience. You can read a dictionary definition of love, but that will not allow you to feel it. To truly grasp the meaning of these deep, abstract concepts, we need the profound, holistic wisdom of the right hemisphere. The right hemisphere does not understand the world through definitions, but through metaphor, through embodied experience, and through intuitive connection. It is the part of you that understands justice not as a legal code, but as a feeling of fairness, a gut sense of right and wrong. It grasps love not as a category, but as a felt sense of connection, of warmth, of expansion. The right hemisphere is the master of metaphorical thinking, which is the very bridge we use to get from the concrete to the abstract. We understand a heavy heart because the right hemisphere connects the abstract feeling of sadness to the concrete, physical sensation of weight. We understand a bright idea because it links the abstract concept of insight to the concrete experience of light. It takes the intellectual framework from the left hemisphere and breathes life into it, grounding it in the sensory, emotional, and spatial world that it knows so well. This partnership is perhaps most evident when we contemplate the most profound questions of existence in the realms of spirituality or philosophy. The left hemisphere may try to construct logical arguments for the meaning of life or the nature of consciousness. It can build complex theological or philosophical systems. But the experiences that often form the basis of these systems, feelings of awe, of transcendence, of deep interconnectedness with the universe, of a sense of timelessness, these are quintessential right hemisphere experiences. They are holistic, nonverbal, and profoundly emotional. They are moments when the storytelling, individual self of the left hemisphere seems to quiet down, and the vast, connected, embodied self of the right hemisphere comes to the forefront. The mystic and the theologian live within us, side by side. As you lie here, you have no need to grapple with these vast, abstract questions. You can let go of the need to define or understand. You can release the intellectual scaffolding of the left hemisphere and the deep, searching feelings of the right. You can simply rest in the quiet mystery of being, without needing to have an answer for it. Let your mind be like a vast, empty sky. Thoughts of justice, or love, or meaning may appear like distant stars, but you don't need to reach for them. You can just observe their gentle light from a place of deep, unknowing peace. In this stillness, you are touching a truth that exists before all concepts, a simple, profound state of rest. Let us now turn our awareness inward, to the quiet, private theater of the mind. What happens when you stop paying attention to the outside world? When your eyes are closed? When you are not engaged in a task? When you are simply lying here, resting? Your mind does not go blank. Instead, a different network of the brain hums to life. This is the default mode network, and it is the architect of your inner world, the source of the gentle stream of thoughts, memories, and daydreams that often fills the quiet moments of our lives. The default mode network, or DMN, is not located in one place, but is a widespread collection of brain regions, primarily in the medial prefrontal cortex, the posterior cingulate cortex, and the angular gyrus spanning across both hemispheres. It is called the default network because it is what your brain defaults to when it is not busy with a specific, externally focused task. It is the brain's resting state, but it is far from idle. In fact, it is incredibly active, consuming a great deal of energy. This is the network that is at work when you are remembering a past event, imagining a future scenario, thinking about your relationships with others, or simply letting your mind wander. The two hemispheres play their classic collaborative roles within this network. The left hemisphere component of the DMN is often involved in the linguistic, storytelling aspect of our mind wandering. It is the voice of your inner narrator, piecing together memories into a story, or planning out a future conversation step by step. It provides the verbal content of your daydreams. The right hemisphere component, meanwhile, provides the rich, sensory, and emotional context. It is the part that conjures the visual images of a memory, that allows you to feel the emotion of a future hope or a past regret. It gives your inner world its vivid, movie-like quality. When you are lost in a daydream, you are experiencing a seamless collaboration between the storyteller and the set designer, the narrator, and the emotional painter, all working together to create a rich internal simulation of reality. This network is essential for our sense of self. It is by stitching together our past, present, and future that the DMN helps to create and maintain our continuous identity. It is a space for self-reflection, for making sense of our social lives, and for creative incubation. Many a brilliant idea has sprung forth not when someone was trying to solve a problem, but when they were relaxing perhaps in the shower or on a walk, and their default mode network was allowed to roam free, making novel connections. However, for someone trying to fall asleep, an overactive DMN can be a source of frustration, This is the network that can keep you awake at night, replaying the day's events, worrying about tomorrow, or getting lost in endless chains of thought. The stream of consciousness can feel more like a rushing river, keeping you from the peaceful shores of sleep. And so, the invitation now is to gently guide this powerful network towards stillness. You don't need to fight your thoughts or try to force your mind to be blank. That often just creates more noise. Instead, you can simply and gently guide your attention elsewhere. Guide it to the physical sensation of your breath. Guide it to the feeling of weight in your body. Each time you notice your mind has wandered off into a story or a plan, the signature of the DMN, you can gently, without judgment, acknowledge it, and then softly guide your attention back to the simple physical reality of this present moment. With each gentle return, you are quietening the network. You are letting the inner theater close for the night. The actors can go home. The storyteller can rest. You are allowing the default mode to shift from one of active thought to one of deep, silent presence. And in that growing silence, you will find the open doorway to sleep. And so, our long, gentle journey through the inner cosmos of the mind comes to a soft and quiet close. We began with a simple story, a map of two separate lands, the logical left and the creative right. But as we've wandered through the intricate landscapes of language and emotion, of memory and dreams, we have discovered a deeper and more beautiful truth. The story of our mind is not a tale of two rivals, but a story of a profound and inseparable partnership. It is the story of a symphony. We have seen how the two hemispheres work in exquisite harmony to weave the seamless fabric of our reality. The left hemisphere, the meticulous craftsman, provides the detail, the structure, the words, and the timeline. The right hemisphere, the visionary artist, provides the context, the feeling, the space, and the soul. Together, they create everything we experience, the language that is both grammatical and poetic, the memories that are both factual and emotional, the creativity that is both inspired and disciplined, the self that is both a story and a silent presence. You are the living embodiment of this unity. You are not half a person, not a mind divided against itself. You are a whole, integrated being, and the constant, silent, lightning-fast conversation across the great bridge of your corpus callosum is the miracle that makes this wholeness possible. Tonight, we have journeyed through this inner world not as scientists with tools and charts, but as gentle explorers, simply observing the wonder of our own nature. And now, the exploration is complete. The map can be folded and put away. The story has been told. All that remains is the profound and simple act of letting go. Let go of the need to understand. Let go of the names and the concepts. Let Broca's area fall silent. No more words to form. Let Wernicke's area rest. No more meanings to decipher. Allow the vigilant sentinel of the right hemisphere to know that you are safe, that it can stand down its watch. Allow the busy narrator of the left hemisphere to know that the story is over for today, that it can finally be still. Feel the two halves of your brain, your whole mind, settling into a deep and synchronous rhythm. Imagine a slow, gentle wave of quiet, washing from one side to the other and back again, a tide of tranquility. With each breath, feel this quiet deepening, this unity becoming more profound. The distinction between left and right dissolves. The distinction between mind and body dissolves. The distinction between you and the stillness that holds you dissolves. There is nothing left to do, nothing left to figure out. You are held, you are safe, and you are whole. The only journey left now is the one into the deep, dark, healing quiet of sleep. Let my voice be the last gentle current that carries you out into that peaceful, silent ocean. Rest now, rest deeply, sleep well.